I had been on the road for what felt like an eternity. It had been over a year since I had seen my parents, and I was exhausted from the long drive from my college in Washington State. The rain was beating down on my windshield, making it difficult to see through the winding roads of the countryside. The sound of the rain hitting the car roof was lulling me to sleep. My eyes grew heavy, and my head began to droop. Just as I was about to doze off, I saw something in the road and swerved to avoid a collision. Looking back in my rearview mirror, I saw a man walking slowly in the middle of the road, seemingly unfazed by the near miss. He had his thumb up like he was in need of a ride. As I pulled over to the side of the road, my heart was pounding in my chest. I waited anxiously for the man to make his way up to the car. He was walking slowly, his head down, and his clothes were completely drenched from the rain. When he finally reached my car, I rolled down the window, apologizing for almost hitting him. I offered him a ride to wherever he needed to go. The man didn't respond at first, but eventually got in the car. The man's clothes were ragged and torn, with what looked like bloodstains on them. He smelt like a wet dog, his presence sending shivers down my spine. But I tried to brush it off as just my imagination. As we drove on, I tried to make small talk with the hitchhiker, but he seemed distant and uninterested. His behavior grew more and more erratic, muttering to himself and trembling uncontrollably. I wondered if he was on drugs or had some mental illness. I felt a surge of fear and regret for picking him up. Maybe I should drop him off at the next town. Just then, I saw a faint glimmer of lights in the distance. It looked like a small gas station out in the middle of nowhere. Maybe this was my chance to get rid of him. The hitchhiker seemed to notice the change in speed and direction as I slowed down to turn into the gas station. He looked at me with a suspicious glare and asked me what I was doing. Those were the first words he had spoken since I picked him up. His voice was low and raspy, like he had been smoking for years. I tried to sound casual and friendly. "I need to fill up the tank and use the restroom. Do you need anything?" He just smirked and said, "Do I look like I need something?" I didn't respond or even know how to respond back to that. As I pulled into the gas station, I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that had been growing inside me ever since I picked up the hitchhiker. I got out of the car and walked into the convenience store to prepay for gas. The sight of the teenage girl behind the register didn't do much to ease my fears. I doubted that she would be of any help if things went south with that psycho. I paid for the gas and glanced towards the windows to get her to look out at the pump. "Have you seen that guy before?" I asked, hoping that he was just a lost local. The girl took a long, squinting look through the glass and replied, "Nope, never seen him before. He sure does look creepy, though." I nodded, collected my change, and headed towards the bathroom sign, feeling a knot form in my stomach. As I stepped out of the gas station and walked towards my car, I realized that something was not right. The passenger seat door was wide open, and the hitchhiker was nowhere to be seen. I quickly looked around and shouted, "Hey, dude, where did you go?" But there was no response. As I started to feel a sense of unease, I spotted the backpack that he had left behind on the seat. Without any hesitation, I grabbed it and hurried back into the store. The teenage girl behind the counter looked up at me with a puzzled expression as I walked in with the backpack in my hand. I explained the situation to her and told her that I was concerned about her safety. She looked scared, but grateful for my concern. With the girl watching, I slowly opened up the backpack and looked inside. I pulled out a torn t-shirt and what appeared to be a scarf belonging to a woman, but as I reached further down into the bag, my hand brushed against something cold and metallic. I pulled out a blood-stained watch and a gold wedding band, which gave me a cold shiver. As I dug deeper into the backpack, I found myself in horror at what I saw. There were human teeth and other small bones scattered at the bottom of the backpack. My mind raced as I tried to make sense of the gruesome discovery. The girl could see the terror in my eyes and asked, "What is it? What did you find?" When I told her what I had discovered, she gasped and took a step backwards, clearly shaken by the revelation. I quickly told her to lock the door and not let anyone in, and she complied with a shaky nod. Trembling hands fumbled with the lock as she worked to secure the entrance, the fear in her eyes mirroring my own. I then noticed the phone on the counter and immediately dialed the police. While waiting for the call to connect, I glanced out the window and noticed the drifter rifling through the inside of my car. The girl saw him too and quickly ran behind the counter to hide. As I was on the phone with the police, I could feel my heart racing. I frantically urged the operator to send someone to the gas station as quickly as possible, trying to keep my voice steady as I described the situation. Just then, I saw the hitchhiker approach the glass door, and our eyes met in a moment of intense recognition. He could see that I was on the phone, and in that moment, he took off running. I realized that he knew I had called for help, and I couldn't help but wonder what he was capable of doing. We crouched behind the counter, our breaths shallow and ragged, waiting in complete silence for what felt like an eternity, hoping that the police would arrive soon. Finally, we caught a glimpse of blue lights reflecting off the walls of the station. Suddenly, there was a loud banging at the door that made us jump. The girl bravely walked over to the door and let the police in. Upon looking out into the parking lot, I noticed the presence of 2 police cars. Through the back window of one, I could make out the outline of what seemed to be the hitchhiker. After we handed over the backpack to the police as evidence and gave our statements, they informed us that they had apprehended the drifter. They found him hiding in a ditch just up the road. The police officers then revealed to us that we were very fortunate because they had been searching for this man for some time, and he was the primary suspect in the Stone County murders case.